coming to the bottom of what can we do, what is the simplest thing we can do to raise that consciousness, what would you say, where would you say we should start?
Hmm. Beautiful question. And to be honest, I think raising the consciousness, the awareness, it depends so much on the individual. So you and where you are in your path and your life. But I would say connection comes to my mind
Mm.
as the number one thing of like the more connected you are first with yourself, and then that will kind of like be a domino effect of you become more connected to the task on your table, to the person you're working with. So when we talk about consciousness, I'm getting this model in my head, which is like these three parts, which is awareness, connection, and clarity.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is like a triad of you kind of like working on your vessel of, okay, now this is full. This can start energizing. This can start take shape and really transform. So I would say those are the things. And what that can mean in practice, how can you feel more connected? Take a breath, like feel your body. Sit here and just like feel your shoulders like being heavy. Whatever that makes you feel more arrived. And obviously your energy shifts already. It shifts more inward, and once it's inward, that's where you can start elevating your energy, in my opinion. And if you're not connected with yourself, I also believe that you cannot find the ways to become more energized, because you cannot really feel what is the impact, because you're way too much in your mind or you're way too much external. So yeah, that's why I said connection.
That is so hard because it feels like there is always that fight between your mind and your heart, your body getting in the way. And it's when I'm talking about posting or not that piece of content on social media, for example, right? I want to do it. I feel like I have this natural attraction. Let's just post it. And then you start to wonder, like, are they going to like it? Are they this and this and this? And it's the ability to shut that down and to go back into the feelings and to just be present and be like, I'm just doing it for me. Why am I doing it? And all of this comes together, right?
Yes, and that's exactly the thing. And this is honestly, like, for me, the biggest pain point of my own journey, the mind override, the mind taking all the control. And people who work with me know that I went through a burnout just because of this reason. And what I tell myself and everyone else is that your mind is the most biased decision maker in yourself. All of our fears, all of our overthinking, everything lives in the mind. All of our trauma, obviously the trauma is also in your body, but like the way you interpret that. So if you're trusting only your mind, your navigation is not gonna be that strong. The body really knows the truth. And once your mind takes over, it's like you're so loose, you're not connected. You can really, one day it can be going this way, the other way can go that way. But usually the body is much more centered. So such a powerful point. The mind is beautiful, it's intelligent, it can help us so much, but that alone, taking the drive of your life, that is a disaster most likely. And we need something more stable, something more grounded, something more true to us.
There was a woman as well online who I was listening to. She was saying that your gut is like your second brain, right? So if you have a lot of pain in your belly, for example, that can be a reason. You know, there's something is happening that is not really aligned. Even if you think that this is the right thing to do, when your body is showing signs, obviously it's you have to listen to it. So no, I do agree fully with that. And it's so important to be able to listen to it, even if it's easier not to, right? In a lot of time. In a lot of time, when you are in that routine and you're used to either perform at a certain level or do something a certain way, or as you said, you're used to not be on social media. So it's easier than coping with whatever can come out of this posting that you wanna do. So listening to your body, the instinct also. I love that feeling, it's for me, it's in my gut all the time, but you feel it. And we talked about that with Vicky when we did the human design as well. She was saying that some people, like the projector, they have this instinct and it's very fast. And for me, it really is in the belly. You can feel it, and you have to listen to those things Because I do think that you miss so many opportunities if you don't.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is something that is very recent to me because I used to be a consultant. I used to be paid based on what was coming from here and never the gut feeling or anything, right? So my advice, the way I would make that presentation, the way I would analyze this Excel document was the way I was paid, right? And what I could bring as insights. And it's really interesting because it took me to start a bit of a spiritual journey to understand that there is another part with your body actually talking to you and has those feelings a bit what you're saying, but also feels like it has a mind on its own and telling you like right now this is maybe not the right move. It just has this different part from like I can hear that voice, but I can feel that voice in a bit, right? And that reminds me, like, I have to tell you this anecdote because Kimi, my partner, makes so much fun of me with this. Do you guys know Mo Godat?
What?
Mo Godat?
No.
No, he wrote a lot of books, a lot of books linked to happiness, and one of them is called That Little Voice in Your Head. I can absolutely recommend. This is like fantastic. It's been life changing for me. I didn't know there is this little voice in my head that is actually guiding me, but that's me, but not me. It's kind of like protecting me from stuff. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. And it's always this, it was always this fight. Should I do this? No, don't do it. Just stay in that zone of comfort. This is fine. You're fine. No, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't take that step. And the part where Kimi makes fun of me is I started to name that voice and I called it Brian, Brian, because it's a part of my brain. And the fact that I would personalize it, like kind of like create a human from that, I started to have conversations with Brian. And I started, for example, I used to be really afraid when I would walk my dog that when I'm going on the crossroads, a car just like runs over my dog, And it was always this like intense fear, almost panic that was coming from Brian. So that was me and Brian saying, hey, Brian, there's a crossroads 50 meters away. It's going to go well. This is fine. Let's not fight over that one. I'm going to be looking left and right, and we're going to be absolutely safe. Can we do that? And it's so cool because I talk about this to a lot of people, and everyone starts to be like, you've put a person's name in your own brain, right? But then when you think about it, this is what we do all the time. We fight with that other version of us, this protective, that's the reptilian part of our evolution, right? That is trying to keep us from achieving and going. And it's not about repressing it. It's not about saying each time Brian opens its mouth to say, shut up, I won't listen to you. I'm a bold person. It's about having this conversation and almost this negotiation. And now when I talk in the house, I'm like, yeah, I was just talking to Brian and we've decided to go that way. And of course, Kimi knows, but other people not in the full context will be like, who's Brian?
Who is this guy
what is
living
he
with
doing?
you?
That's the
Living
guy
in
who
your
is in my
head.
head. So yeah, do you have that, Brian? We call it Becky with Kimi.
Okay.
Do you have
Yeah.
Brian or Becky? How do you converse with Brian or Becky, Lucie?
No, of course. And there is also a thing called positive intelligence where they talk about the saboteurs. I guess it's a bit of the same thing, this little voice that you have there. It is serving you and not serving you. It can be serving you on the short term because it makes your life easier to cope with the situation the way they want you to cope with the situation. But on the long term, of course, it's not that helpful. And as you said, and again, I said from the beginning, the more aware you are of what exactly is Brian telling you, the more you will be able to handle it, to talk to it, and to shift from it. So that's really the start. Now, sometimes it feels, I learned that very recently on the model as well about identity. Someone was explaining that we also feel like it's too difficult to get away from Brian. So I need to build my own persona myself. So I'm not becoming Lucie, but I'm becoming, I don't know, Lucie the star or whatever it is. I have no idea. I'm very bad with name. Thank God I don't have a kid. But I'm becoming this person. He was taking the example of Shakira. Apparently, Shakira was Sapphire Fierce or something like this. Sorry, she did even an album with that name because when she left the Destiny Child, she had to do it by herself, and obviously she had that Becky voice saying, you're not going to do it. Like you were famous before, now you're going to do it alone. It's not possible. And certainly she didn't feel like she could have a conversation with this person. So she has decided to create a persona. We saw that as well in the sport, obviously, when you work on your mindset,
Yeah.
etc. But she built that persona, and she's like, now, not me as Beyonce, I can't deal with that person. But if I jump into Safa Fierce, I think is the name, then I can do it. And that's how she did it. And so I love this all identities type of work that we can do as well to cope with everything that we can do. There is a model I'll just share because I think it's very interesting, and let me know what you think. I didn't invent it. Jean-Paul Pangalos invented it, which is the creator of the Mindset Factor Index, and he's a brilliant man. I'll be very fast, but he explained that we have 3 identities. And he explained that the first is the inner self, he call it, which is, the identity where you're not in a good mood. Meaning that you listen to Brian. The identity where you're like, no, I'm not going to post on Instagram because it's not good, or you're less patient, you're judge everyone and stuff like that. So this is your inner identity. Then he talks about the outer identity, the one we want to show on Instagram. Even if I feel like crap, I'll show that I'm working. And the type of people that go to the gym, they do 2 squats just for the video, but they didn't really squat. Well, that's the type of identity, the outer. Even now, we are mostly in our outer self. Even if it doesn't mean you're not yourself. It just means we're trying to speak properly, bring topics that are relevant. It's not something that you do when you are with your partner at home and you're just having a chilling conversation. So he talks about this outer one, and then he talks about the best self, the future self, he call it, which we all know about, which is, who do I want to become when I'm at my best? What do I want to feel? I want to be an inspiring person. I want to, I don't know, go every day to the gym, etc. And he explained a bit like what you were explaining me. That's why I'm mentioning, because I think it's very relevant. He said, just sometimes being in your future self it's like very far away. The goal that you have and the person that you need to become, it sounds too difficult. Like, I'm an introvert, I never posted on Instagram. If I want to become that very famous coach, I need to do it every single day. Sometimes the gap is too far away, and so people stay stuck because it's too far away, and it seems like, no, I cannot do it. So what he said, take a week, write down write down 3 columns. The first column is your inner self, and write down all of your habits, behavior that you have when you are in a bad mood. As you said, I don't want to do the accounting. I hate that crap. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm not patient. And I will eat all the chocolate in the fridge because that's what I do when I'm pissed, let's say. So that's the first thing. And he said, analyze and see. So again, the self-awareness, analyze everything and see your pattern and your behavior. And now think about what you do when you're in a good mood. I don't know, you just got an increase in your salary. You just had a great conversation with your friend and you're inspired. How does that look? Without thinking about the future self. And when you do that, you, again, start having a choice because it's on paper and you've analyzed it. Oh, I'm going to the fridge to eat. Now I'm in my inner self. What can I do to be in my outer self? If I would feel a bit better, what does that look like? And I think those tools, in relation to everything that we were saying, those tools to do that are helping us to get away from Brian. Because as you said, Brian is there. It's not necessarily bad, but it's all about not listening to him, negotiating well with him so I can finally be another version of myself that is a bit better. I'm not there to be excellent, but a bit better and getting, further than that. And then by doing so, your inner self will start being better. And we can always improve, obviously, but you will never hit rock bottom as much as you did before because you have done that work. So yeah, I don't know. I wanted to share that because I thought it was linked with the topic as well of kind of identity and how to step into different ones.
Yeah, that's a really, really good one. And I think whenever it comes to this layering your identity or understanding, also obviously also psychologically, like we have these different inner voices, whether it is our inner child or inner self, however we want to name them. So I think having the objective view of who is talking. Is this like now that Linda, 8-year-old, who was very scared of this thing, got traumatized, and now that voice is stuck in my head, and that's affecting all of my decisions because it's stronger than, let's say, my logical drive? Or is it like my, I don't know, ego self who wants to do this just because? And we all have this different. And I think, as you already mentioned, like if you can put a finger on who is talking, it's easier to have this, like, not letting the mind just as a one collective drive you, because it's going to be biased, as we already came to conclude. But it's like, okay, this is that person or that role. And then I think the important part is, like, when you identify it, how can you hear more out it? Kind of like that voice usually is there for a reason. It's trapped, or it tries to protect you, it tries to keep you safe. And this is obviously also the mind's way of, like, if you had a bad experience or a fearful moment, a trauma, you might develop these voices that are actually there because they got traumatized. That trauma was never properly worked on, and then now your brain literally wants to keep you safe from not having the same experience happen again. So it's like that voice will be there as long as we can really heal it. And I think either talking to it, or actually, like, being like, okay, this inner self, or Brian or Becky or whoever we want to call it, what are you here to tell me? How can I serve you better? How can I make it more safe for you to walk over this crossroad, for example, as you already mentioned? And this is where we build a relationship with it. We accept it. We'll bring kind of like an opening for that trauma or that fear to actually exit. Because if we just let it there, we push it, which we normally do, like, we feel maybe shame, we feel that it's not good that I have this voice, like, I want to do this, like, just shut up. That's where we're pushing it even more back.
You
and
repress it.
Yes, you suppress it, exactly. And there's actually one thing I want to bring connected to this. I heard this from a monk, and he said that keep things where they belong. If you have a water bottle, you keep it on the table, except now we have it on the floor. So keep the water on the table. It's like it belongs there. Or if I serve you food, I don't serve it on the floor, I serve it on the table. So same way of, like, okay, if I have a hurt in my arm, it's not like me as a collective, I am hurting, my soul, my body, my mind, my arm is hurting. If I have this fear, it's like, okay, this one part of me is fearful, but I as a full self am not fearful. So this can also bring, it was such a great sentence of keep things where they belong. And this brings the objective view for yourself, so you can lead yourself better, you can be more aware, you can be more connected, and you can also have the clarity of what is really happening. So I wanted to bring that.
Yeah, beautiful.
That's very true. And I think it's also important to mention it is hard work, right? Because, your brain has been wired to think that way for many, many years. And it's like you have those neural pathways that are like fast way, we say that the fast way,
Highway.
like highway, excuse me. So it's like a highway. So you're used to think like this for years and to listen to Brian for years. So it is important to understand neuroplasticity, that the brain can evolve, but that always constantly your brain will take that highway because you're used to do it. But on the other side, you have the choice to take a very bumpy, terrible road, and your brain is not used to that. So there is 100% chances that you're going to fail the first time that you will want to try to listen to Brian and to talk to him. But that's okay, because it is part of the process. And I think it's super important to understand that this is work, what we're talking about, because it feels like sometimes I do think that some people think they're waiting for a feeling of now I'm aligned. And I did that and I feel so much alive. Sometimes you did some work, sometimes you try to be more conscious and doesn't work. You still feel like crap and you don't know what to do about it. So it is a journey, but it is not possible. It has been proven by science as well that you can rewire the way you're thinking. It is work because you have been thinking the same way for a long time, but it is possible. And as everything in life, nothing comes easier. If you want to be happy, if you want to be conscious, if you want to be a leader, if you want to impact the world, then you need to do this work for yourself first. And it is work. And I think it's very important, right, to say that it's not super simple. It is not. We all have been through so many moments of doubt, and still today, there's no like final destination.
And it starts really with this recognition of the trigger. It starts with acknowledging that there is something there, even though you don't do anything. With this example of me walking my dog and being afraid of the dog being run over, for months, I didn't do anything. I didn't know what to do. Each time it would just happen in my face and I'd be like, and suddenly my heart starts beating really fast and I'm scared, right? But step by step, I started to recognize, oh, it's happening again. Oh, it's happening again. And again and again. And every day. And now I have the recognition of that. and I can see where the trigger is. And you talked about this highway of neurons, and I'm like, okay, it's going that way. It's really not benefiting me. I'm sorry. Like, I don't want that path. How do I change that? And now starts the work with realizing what works, what doesn't. And now is the next step. There is that very small dirt road in my head versus the highway. No, we don't take the highway, we take the dirt road. We take the dirt road again, and the next day again, and again and again. And you build on that, and you're building that road that becomes a high road. And now the highway becomes completely destroyed because you're not maintaining it, right? And you end up taking the other roads. And I can tell you today, this is not one of my traumas. I have so many more. Don't worry about it. Work is never done. But that one is not one of them. And it changes your life. And when you realize that you can rewire your brain, as you said, and rewrite your story and those traumas,